Haha! Hello and welcome, my lovely Padawans, to this yet another Yu-Gi-Oh video. I really need to work on my intro. So yeah, hello, my lovely Padawans, and welcome to all of you Yu-Gi-Oh fans that have been watching my videos, and I am really, really happy about that. So today we're going to take a look at my Labyrinth of Nightmares. LON, I believe that's what the set was called, deck. This deck was made, I believe that was made, yeah, that was made with the, no, not with, that was the last deck made. Let me just be very, yes, right, so this deck was the last deck that I made with just looking at the cards in the set and just making a deck of my own. And from the next deck we started using the Yu-Gi-Oh! Online pack opener to make our decks. So as you can probably tell, this is again an older deck, but it's still got a very nice collection of cards and a lot of different combinations that you can use with just the cards in that set and not using any cards from other sets. So to begin with, one of the, well, probably one of the decks, one of the boss monsters in the deck itself, and also the extra deck, is the Amphibian Beast. That's just your regular rank, level 6 tribute monster. You sacrifice one monster on the field to summon this water fish monster, which has no effect and 2400 attack points and 2000 defense points. It's just there to be there, but you can also use it for easier masked beasts. We're gonna get to that later. And 3 copies of Gemini Elf. That's your that's your one of your main cards. It's an Earth spellcaster with 1900 attack points. Pretty much standard. Then for defense monsters, I have 2 copies of Humanoid Slime. Of course, you can use 3 of these. You can do whatever you want, but that's just your standard level 4 2000 defense monster, which for that time, back in the day, 2000 was still like a lot. Then I have 3 copies of Zombira the Dark. That's a passive-aggressive card, let's say that. It's one of those cards that offense is your best defense. It's a level 4 Dark Warrior effect monster with 2100 attack and 500 defense, but it's balanced in the way that first it cannot attack your opponent directly, and second, each time you destroy a monster, this card loses 200 attack points. So you have to be very careful as to not use it too much, or else it will be killed easily. Then 3 copies of Kaiku the Ghost Destroyer. Now that's a very awesome card. It's one of my most favorite older spellcaster cards. It's a dark level 4 spellcaster effect monster with 1800 attack and 700 defense, but it's got a very neat effect. As in, when it battles and inflicts battle damage to your opponent, it doesn't need to just battle, just when it inflicts battle damage to your opponent via, you know, a battle or just a direct attack, you can remove from play up to 2 monster cards from your opponent's graveyard. And while Kaiku is of course on the field, your opponent cannot remove from play any cards from either player's graveyard, which is also a really nice addition. Then I have 3 copies of Hysteric Fairy. It's again a decent level 4 light fairy monster with 1800 attack and 500 defense points, but it's got a nice effect as well. It has a burn effect, a costly one, of course, but it's a burn effect. You can tribute 2 monsters on your side of the field to increase your life points by 1000 life points. I said a burn effect, I'm an idiot. it's a life point gaining effect, my bad. Of course, yeah, you need to be very careful when to use that, because you need to sacrifice 2 monsters, and my build doesn't have a lot of monsters to it. Then 1 copy of Tornado Bird. That's again a nice winged bird. Sorry, winged beast level 4 monster with 1100 attack and 1000 defense, which is not very spectacular, but its effect is what you want. It's a flip effect which returns 2 spell or trap cards on the field to their owner's hands. So it's like Blade Armor Ninja or something. It's like one of those ninjas, an older card that destroys a spell card, but differently, you know. Anyway, then 1 copy of Mario Kutai, which is I have it because I need it for my fusion, and not for its effect. But its effect is that you can only activate its card's effect during your opponent's turn. When your opponent activates a spell card, tribute this face up. Basically, you can negate and destroy a spell by sacrificing Mario Kutai. Then the boss monster of the deck, you know, outside of the extra deck, is the Masked Beast. It's just a dark monster level 8 with 3200 attack points and nothing else. It's a ritual monster, of course. You need to use the Curse of the Masked Beast and sacrifice a total of 8 levels of monsters. You know, a total of 8. You know, equal to levels of 8 or more, basically. Then for the spell cards, I have Spiritualism, which is a very awesome card. 2 of them. Basically, you return a spell or trap card on your opponent's side of the field to their hand, and the nice thing about Spiritualism is that it cannot be negated. Then of course I have 1 copy of Curse of the Masked Beast. I have 1 because it's not. Basically, you can make your deck revolve around getting a lot of Masked Beasts. You can get 3 of them if you want. That's not a problem. I'm going with 1 because it's just another combination that I can use, basically. Then 1 copy of Offerings to the Doomed. Basically, you destroy a face-up monster and you skip your next draw phase. 1 copy of Mask of Dispel. Now that's a very nice card. It's a continuous spell card. Basically, you select a face-up spell card on the field. The controller of the spell card must take 500 damage during each of your standby phases. When the selected card is removed from the field, destroy this card. So basically you can do this with, let's say, your opponent's other continuous spell cards, like their field spell or something else, an equipment spell or whatever. Preferably with a field spell. Then 1 copy of the Dark Door. It's another continuous spell card. Basically what it does is that both players can only attack with 1 monster during each of their respective battle phases, which can save you a lot of trouble. Then United We Stand. I don't need to explain this card, but it's an equipment spell that gives the monster you've equipped it to 800 attack and defense per monster you control. That includes the monster you've equipped it to. Then 1 copy of Mask of the Accursed. It's another equipment spell, which allows with it, the monster equipped with this card cannot attack, and the controller of the equipped monster takes 500 points of damage during each of your standby phases. So basically you can attach this to your opponent's boss monster. It will become useless, since it will not be able to attack, and you wouldn't really need to kill it, and just defend until you burn your opponent's life points. Then Ekibio Drakmord is yet another offensive, well, let's say defensive spell card, an equipment spell card. Basically, when you equip it to the monster, it cannot attack, and then you destroy the equipped monster at the end of its controller's second turn after this card was activated. At that time, this card is returned to the owner's hand. So basically, you activate it, then your opponent has a turn, you have a turn, and then your opponent again has a turn, right? The monster is destroyed, but Ekibio Drakmord doesn't go to the graveyard. It goes back to your hand, so that you can use it again. It's a very nice card. It's like Mask of the Accursed, but different, you know? Then another equipment spell card, Mage Power. Now that's this card, in combination with United We Stand, is a blast. Literally. So you get 800 points per monster, including the monster equipped with this card, but Mage Power gives you 500 attack and defense per each spell and trap card you control, including Mage Power. Right? So if you have a monster, let's say you have Amphibian Beast, you go United Withstand, it goes to 3200, right? And then you activate Mage Power, and it gives you another 1000 because of Mage Power and United Withstand on your field, and it goes to 4200 attack points. That's 4200 for just your standard level 6, for example, of course. And then I have 2 copies of Fusion Gate. I went with Fusion Gate because, as I said, I have only one Mario Kutai, and I have absolutely no need of it on the field or in my graveyard. And I have 3 of my Zambiras, so whenever that comes, I will probably have Fusion Gate on my field. That's why I have 2 of them in case one gets destroyed. And then I have 1 copy of my Fusion Monster as well. But we're gonna get to that later on. So for traps I have Torrential Tribute, that's straightforward. When a monster is summoned, destroy all monsters. Mask of Weakness. Basically it's a 1 turn only card, which decreases 700 attack on any monster, on one monster until the end of the phase. Magic Cylinder. Basically you bounce back an attack and your opponent takes damage equal to the attack of the attacking monster. Jar of Greed gives you another draw. Fairy Box. Now that's one annoying and very difficult to control trap card. It's a continuous spell card. Basically, each time a monster your opponent controls attacks, you toss a coin and call either heads or tails. And if you call it right, the attacking monster's attack becomes 0 during the battle phase only. But of course, this trap card comes at a price, and each of your standby phases you will have to pay 500 life points or destroy this card. Then another continuous trap card, which is also a defensive one. Basically, during your standby phase you roll 1 6-sided die once. Destroy any monsters whose level is equal to the number rolled. So if the number is 6, you can destroy all face-up level 6 or higher monsters on the field. The only downside to this card is that you can accidentally destroy your own monsters. So you have to keep in mind that this is a very RNG card, but it's a nice one, right? Then another card is Grave Robber's Retribution. Then you may ask, why would you have this card in this deck? Basically, it's a continuous trap card. It's a burn continuous trap card that in each of your standby phases, you inflict 100 points of damage to your opponent's life points for each of your opponent's monsters that have been removed from play. And I have one of these in my deck because I have 3 of Kaiku. And you know that Kaiku can banish up to 2 monsters from play from your opponent's graveyard. So if you have, prior to using Grave Robber's Retribution, banished a couple of your opponent's monsters from the graveyard, let's say 4 or even 6 or more, that will be a nice burn damage to your opponent during each of your standby phases, which is awesome. Right, so Royal Command is another continuous trap card. Basically, this set has a lot of continuous trap cards, and yeah. So Royal Command, basically it negates the activation of activation and effects of all flip effect monsters. So let's say you've already used your flip effects such as Tornado Bird, and you no longer have need of flip effects, and then you can stop your opponent from having the use of flip effects, which is nice. And then 1 copy of Riryoku Field. Now that's a counter trap card, which negates the activation of a spell that targets 1 monster on the field and destroys. So let's say your opponent activates something like Mask of the Accursed on your boss monster, let's say the Masked Beast. You can absolutely stop that activation with Riryoku Field and protect your monster. Then for my extra deck I have just 1 copy of The Last Warrior from Another Planet. Now that's one of the most powerful fusion monsters in the early Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG, years. It doesn't boast with a very high attack capabilities or defense capabilities. It only has 2350 attack and 2300 defense. It's a fusion monster, of course, being purple. You fuse Zombira the Dark and Mario Kutai with either, polymerization or, in my case, Fusion Gate. And basically, when this card is special summoned, the Last Warrior, you can destroy all the monsters on your side of the field except this card. And then, as long as this card remains face up on the field, neither player can normal summon, flip summon, or special summon any monster. So you basically do this at a time when your opponent doesn't have any powerful monsters on the field that can destroy your Last Warrior. You destroy all your monsters, you cannot summon anymore, your opponent cannot summon anymore. That means normal summon, flip summon, special summon. The only thing your opponent can do is set, but that won't do them much good. Then you just empower this creature with something else and you just destroy them, pretty much. And then as another combination that you can put into your deck by removing a couple of spells or traps. Let's say you can remove Mario Kutai, Zombira, you can remove the Fusion Gates, and one of these two. You can place the final. That's one of the winning conditions in this game. Basically, when you can get all these 5 cards on your field, you win the game automatically, just like Exodia and whatever. But that's just a side deck thing that you can do. It doesn't, your opponent may or may not be able to stop it. It's just another way to win. So I hope you enjoy my Labyrinth of Nightmare deck profile, my lovely parents and Yu-Gi-Oh fans alike. I hope you are looking forward to the next profiles I will be making, and probably duels with these decks. I'm thinking about that. And yeah, I hope you have a fantastic 2017, and may the force be with you always.